Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me. I'm really excited because we got to meet through your boys, and I've gotten to know a little bit more about what you're doing from a health coach perspective. And I'm super excited that you're kind of willing to share your story, since my whole platform this month is on mouth breathing. So it's Mouth Breathing May, or Mouth Breathing Awareness Month, as I'm calling it. And I was so happy that you reached out to me and you said, hey, let's do something together, because I love collaborating and I'm happy to talk with you. So maybe start off, give us some background, and I guess we could just start off with like how you got in touch with me and what was kind of going on with you, with your boys and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I had been concerned from years back about my boys. They were stuffed up a lot, had runny noses, their teeth weren't fitting, and I was taking them to every orthodontist I could find, trying to get somebody to tell me they could keep their teeth, they could make them fit. Everybody wanted to just pull teeth out, which I knew was just going to make their face smaller and end up with more problems down the road.
Mm-hmm.
The ENT was just giving me nose sprays to help with the allergy, and everything just seemed like it was symptom management. And knowing what I know now and what I do as a health coach is I always try to look at the root cause of everything and not just deal with symptom management. So what I started kind of searching and trying to figure out how can I get to like the root cause of what's going on and fix that instead of the symptoms, and started looking into orthotropics and myofunctional therapy, and found the work of Weston Price and how nutrition plays into it. And through all of that searching, I found you and your website, and I knew when I saw it that you do exactly what I was looking for, with really fixing that root cause, what's underlying these problems, so that we don't just kind of cover them up and have more problems down the road from it.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And I wonder, like, was it just something just didn't feel right as a mom? Like, did you kind of just have this thing, like, it doesn't seem like, it just doesn't make sense. I hear this from a lot of moms where they're told you're fine, or mouth breathing doesn't matter, or I don't know, they're just told by the dentist, like, oh, their teeth will be fine. Just what made you kind of have that first feeling that you needed to look further? Because those aren't really mainstream things to look at.
Definitely. I think gut feeling was the biggest part of it. This all started before I was even a health coach or did what I do now. I just, as a mom, had a feeling like this isn't right. Something's not right. And like you, I now hear that a lot from people, that their intuition is telling them something's not right. And it's really important to listen to that, because quite often we're told like, it'll be fine, and just, it kind of gets brushed under the rug. So I think it's really cool that moms have that intuition, and I think it's important to follow it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy that you wanted to talk about your boys, because why don't you kind of say, like, I know you mentioned the stuffy noses, you kind of notice, I don't know, did you notice mouth breathing, or what were the first symptoms that you're like, something's not going right here? Like, what did you first start to see?
Yeah, I really didn't notice the mouth breathing. It wasn't a real obvious daytime mouth breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest things that I noticed were their teeth were not fitting, and all the orthodontists.
So you noticed like crowding or like crooked teeth?
Yep, crooked teeth, and they were saying, well, let's just pull them out and put braces on the remaining teeth. And that didn't feel right to me, like I said, so I started investigating that. And then the stuffy nose, and then kind of the shiners under their eyes as part of the runny nose. You could tell it was just congested and wasn't working right.
Okay, yeah, and those are things that I point out to parents all the time. And I'm really happy that you said that you didn't notice the mouth breathing, because people think it has to be like obvious, gaping open, like crazy looking mouth. Like it's most of the time the kids, their lips are just barely apart. So it's not like a super obvious habit in everyone. But if they're sleeping with their mouth open, if they have runny noses and stuffy noses, and they're having a hard time breathing during the day, then it's definitely going to affect their facial growth and development and the way their teeth are coming in. So yeah, that's awesome. What have you guys looked at as far as like with your background on nutrition and some of these other things? I know you have kind of a whole backstory on different treatment modalities that you guys have done, and I'd love if you could kind of share a little bit about some of the other paths you've gone down, not just with myofunctional therapy, but with the orthotropic and orthodontic stuff and all that.
Yeah, so from a nutritional standpoint, my kids are hard, they're picky. So I've worked really hard to integrate as much nutrients as I can into their diet. Right now I'm getting my master's of science in clinical nutrition and human performance.
Awesome.
And that's been really helpful at just figuring out more and more, dialing in how much nutrients we need that we're not getting. I think is actually would be surprising to a lot of people, that our soil is depleted. So we're not even naturally getting as much from our vegetables that we should. So I've been really trying to pay attention to what exactly are they eating and how can we make it healthier, incorporating bone broth and things like that, more ancestral diet, I think has been really helpful for ensuring that they're getting proper nutrient intake. And then I sneak things in a lot. I'll sneak like spinach and smoothie and things like that. So that's kind of the nutrition aspect of it. And then some of the other things that we've been doing, I had shared with you earlier that they were diagnosed with scoliosis a year ago. And we went to a really prestigious hospital in our area, and we were told that it was not severe enough yet for bracing and for surgery, but that there was nothing we could do besides just wait, and it would either slowly get worse or quickly get worse. And then at that point you do a brace or you do surgery. And to me, again, I had that feeling of, well, that's just not acceptable. And since this was so recently, I have gone through a lot of training for my health coaching and integrative holistic health and things like that. So I knew that there was something else I could do. So I really launched into research, and we started doing craniosacral therapy, which kind of works with the alignment of your craniosacral plates in your head. And then we started doing some orthotropic work with an Appliance with a special orthodontist that looks at the structure of your face instead of just the straightness of your teeth.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is huge. And that lines up really well with what you were doing with them, working on their facial muscles and just getting everything to develop properly and to line up the right way. We also saw a chiropractor regularly. And the last thing that we did was we saw an osteopath who also worked on muscle trigger points that were tight in different areas. So everything that we did was working on strength and alignment, just getting everything kind of straightened back up. And we had one son that had an 18-degree curve, which is pretty severe. Yeah. And it now is at 9, which they say is not scoliosis anymore, technically. Anything under 10.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so he had basically a complete reversal, and we're still going with therapies because I still don't like 9. I want it to be 0, so we're still going. And I'm excited to see where their next x-ray shows. And then my other son had an S-curve, and his was 12 degrees and 9 degrees. And after 6 months of all of our therapies, we were able to get that to 4 and 0.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. So you credit that to, what would you say the changes came from? The Appliance, the myofunctional therapy, changing the muscles, or kind of what do you think happened?
It worked so well together, where we were kind of relaxing some of the muscles through the osteopathic work that were too tight in the wrong way, and then we were strengthening the facial muscles, and which then helps with the neck muscles and the alignment to pull everything back in the right direction. And then the chiropractor helped with continually adjusting and kind of reminding the spine how to be upright instead of kind of tilted over. And then the Appliance helped, I think, kind of hold it all in place. The work that you were doing with the boys, creating more room and a better facial development, the Appliance kind of helped work together with that to create more room in their face and kind of hold it all in place there.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it makes me think too, I mean, that's a lot of therapies and a lot of treatments for kids. You must have like special skills at getting them to do stuff since you're a health coach. But maybe you could even give some tips, because I gave you guys quite a bit of exercises to do with the tongue and with breathing and with the myofunctional stuff. And now I also realize you guys were doing a lot of other things, but do you have any good strategies on like what parents can do to manage all that, to get their kids to actually do it? Yeah, share that, because that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, well, every kid is different, so you have to find what kind of makes your kids tick and what motivates them. But I've found that for all of them, it's been helpful for them to understand why they're doing it and what they're doing. So I spend a lot of time educating them on, okay, this is why I'm dragging you to this therapy, and this is what's going to happen if you don't do it. Not in a scary way, but just so that they understand there's a real reason why we're going and we're doing this. And I've found that with each thing that we've done, if I explain to them what that one thing does, they're almost excited about it. They want to go and they want to achieve this. And I know what their end game is. I have one son that really wants to be a professional basketball player. And so I'm like, bud, you're not going to be able to do that if you're in a brace and your spine is sideways. So
exactly.
The things that we need to do to get you there. And then I have another son that's mostly just motivated by like M&Ms. So as a health coach, I don't like M&Ms, but I will give you one if you do your exercises. And it's like the risk reward there is really in my favor. So I kind of found out what made them tick and use that, use a lot of education. And then the last thing is just lists. I have a to-do list on my computer and for each boy. And I print it every day and customize it to the day. So I'll just click on the things that I want to print for that day and I print it out. And it's like, well, today you have to put away your laundry, and every day tongue exercises is going to be on there. And then some days it'll tell them like what other therapies they're doing or going to. And
wow.
So and they know this is your list. You got to do it. You got to bang it all out. And then when it's done, you can go play. So they know what they need to do. They can get it done and then they can go and have fun. And
that's so cool. Yeah, I love that. It's such a good idea. Remind me how old all the boys are, because we haven't even mentioned their ages. And they're actually, I mean, they're in a tricky age where, you know, it's not like they're teenagers and responsible. Remind me their ages.
They are 8, 10, and 12.
Yes.
And you're right. The 8-year-old is tough to nail him down and get him to do everything. He's the one that needs the M&Ms for everything.
Yeah.
And then my 10-year-old is very intellectual, so he's super motivated when I tell him why he's doing it, and he likes to know the science behind everything, which is really cute. And then my oldest is he's just more responsible because he's 12, so he'll just do it.
Mm-hmm. And I can see that. I can see that all when we meet and when we do the exercises and stuff. I can see those personalities so well. And I love that you're making them kind of take ownership for what's going on by connecting with why it's important, not just like, well, because I told you to, this is important to me, so you have to just do it. You know, I think that even is important for adults. And I saw that on either your website or your Instagram, like be a health advocate. Like you're a health advocate for your patients or clients, and I'm a health advocate for my patients. But we all have to be our own health advocates, because it's really hard to find information. Like now, I think today there's so much information out there that you can find a lot of stuff, but the good information is really tricky. You have to really dig for it.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like the whole mouth breathing thing, like it sounds so obvious. Like we're not meant to breathe through our mouth. We're meant to breathe through our nose. But the amount of information that's out there on the internet is surprisingly not that much. I mean, it's weird because it's so important, but it's so underappreciated or under acknowledged, you know?
Yeah. It's so important to be empowered with knowledge. I totally agree. We really have to advocate for ourselves. And I have such a wide range of clients that come to me that I work with, but the one thing they all have in common is they're so confused about all of the health information out there. People come to me. Everyone says I should do keto, but then somebody else said I should be vegan, and should I eat meat or should I never eat meat? And it's really confusing. So you have to really take your time and dig through it and figure it out. And there's a lot that gets lost in translation. Like this simple thing is like mouth breathing is so important, but it's not as like fun to talk about as like the hot new diet. So it gets missed.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of embarrassing. I mean, not everybody wants to say, oh yeah, I breathe through my mouth, because that's kind of considered to be like an insult, you know? And like kids will tease other kids for mouth breathing, or if you call someone a mouth breather, it's not a nice thing. So to admit it is actually really hard for a lot of people. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's easier to just be like, no, I don't do that. And, you know, you kind of are in denial, which a lot of people are. They either don't know they do it, or they're super in denial and they don't think they do it as much as they actually do it. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, when I have the boys set up with you and they're doing their exercises with you, I'll be doing them in the corner. I'm like, this is harder than I thought. Even I need to work on some of these things, and I never thought I had any problems with the way I breathe or my tongue strength or anything. But I think that everyone could benefit from some of these things in some way. There's
For sure.
of how much you might need, but I think we're all kind of lacking in that.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up Weston Price because he's really known for kind of a lot of the Weston Price nutritional stuff, but he was a dentist who explored around like the entire world, and he looked at changes to jaws and teeth, and he talked about it in terms of nutrition, but the changes that can happen from nutrition and also from just the improper breathing and improper tongue posture in jaws and teeth, it's really crazy. So I'm glad that you know about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love Weston Price. And I saw on your Instagram we're chewing softer foods now since the Industrial Revolution, and that's changing it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably know, and if you think about it, you can kind of tell what's a healthy food. We think of like smoothies, even like sweet potatoes, which not that smoothies are bad or sweet potatoes are bad, but a lot of our foods that are healthy are soft. A lot of our vegetables and fruits, if you look at what an original peach would have looked like, or what, an apple, or all the fruit that we have today, it's been hybridized and basically changed significantly to be softer and juicier and bigger, and everything is so manipulated that we don't actually have to like bite and rip into fruits and vegetables anymore. And a lot of the bready things, I mean, yeah, you can get a really chewy piece of like French bread or something, but it's not the same as like when our ancestors would have been chewing on like roots and really tough vegetables and fruits and meats and things like that. So yeah, modern food, it's really soft and it's not good for our jaws. So we don't chew as much and our muscles are weaker. And then you combine that with environmental changes, like more pollution and allergens and stuff in the air. Now we're mouth breathing more and chewing less. And it's just like a perfect like recipe for disaster. And that's not even accounting like the nutrition and like diet, like full body stuff. That's just jaw development.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I guess, I mean, what else could we cover or talk about?
Let's talk about breathing for a little bit, because I have so many clients that come to me that are either really fatigued because they're not sleeping right, or they're really stressed out. And I think so much of that relates to proper breathing, mouth breathing, sleep apnea, and they're probably going into fight or flight all the time during the day if they're not breathing properly during the day. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about breathing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm so glad that you talk about that with your patients who have chronic fatigue, because if you're not breathing through your nose, you will feel more tired. Your body is not getting optimal oxygen levels, and it's kind of complicated, but if you look up anything about Buteyko breathing, they really get the science of this down. And if you're interested in like, nerding out on like what's happening on a molecular or cellular level, it's really cool. But basically the gist of it is, when we mouth breathe, we're over breathing. So we have too much volume of air, and we're not able to retain the amount of carbon dioxide that we actually need in our bodies to utilize the oxygen molecules that are basically being carried on our red blood cells during the respiration process. So we are breathing a lot, we're bringing in the air, but we're not actually utilizing it when we're mouth breathing as optimally as we could. So such a simple thing to make people feel better. I think it's like a huge health hack, and it's so under recognized. It's just teach yourself to breathe through your nose. And if you can't breathe through your nose, then find a way to do it. Go see an ENT, have someone look in your nose and see, is there a deviated septum? Do you have polyps in your nose? Do you have giant tonsils or adenoids that are blocking your airway? Because if you don't breathe well, you are more stressed, you're in more fight or flight, right? You don't sleep as well. And if you're mouth breathing at night, think about that. Mouth breathing, which is fight or flight, and sleep, which is I'm trying to actually rest and, recover, and, our body, our cells and everything, growing kids, we're growing at night. And that's when so many of our processes happen. So if you're not breathing well, you're not sleeping well, you're more stressed. And so you have just so many ripple out effect of problems in your body. So I think it's such a helpful thing that you can even tell your clients, what do you think about breathing through your mouth versus your nose? Have you noticed? And the biggest thing you can do is just start to pay attention to it, because once you notice it and you're aware of it, then you can change it. So yeah.
Sleep is so important. That's one of the number one things that I work on with all my clients. And
oh, that's cool.
Like I said, I have this huge range of what I work with, and some people have autoimmune disease, some people have cancer, some people aren't necessarily sick, but they know they don't feel as good as they should, but they don't know why or what to do about it. And we always talk about sleep, because if you're not sleeping and you're not rested, you're not recovering, you're not repairing, your body can't regenerate itself. You're going to be tired and chronically stressed, and you're not going to be able to lose those last 5 or 10 pounds that people come to me a lot and say, I can't lose the weight and I'm doing everything. Well, are you sleeping?
Yeah. Do you do a lot of sleep hygiene stuff too?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, I was just talking about the blue reflection on my glasses, and just doing that, like simple things, like get some blue blocking, eyewear, or put the night shift on your computer screen, or whatever it takes to kind of limit that blue light. I mean, that's such a simple thing that can help a lot. So you probably talk about that, right?
Yeah, and I have these little black stickers that you can just get them on Amazon, and I tell people to put them over, because everything has a little light on it these days. Like your TV has a little light on this little blue light, or your light switch has a little light on it. There's little lights everywhere, and I even travel with them, and I'm like sticking them over things like in hotels.
That's a good idea.
I unplug the alarm clock, and I'll put like a pillow over the phone if that lights up. Just any little bit of light. Like
that's so funny. I do the same thing. Yeah. I don't have the stickers. I've never heard of that, but I always have like a t-shirt or a pillow or something that I put over all those lights when I travel, or in my own house, I can control it a little better. But I didn't know about those little black stickers, so I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. You don't want any light coming in. Otherwise your pineal gland is going to stop secreting melatonin and tell your brain it's daytime. And
Oh man, it's all so connected. And that's the thing that I think it's hard with modern healthcare. And I don't like to, say like, oh, our modern healthcare is bad, because it's really good if you have an emergency. Like if I break my arm, I want to go to the hospital. But as far as like prevention and wellness, it's really hard to find good care in our modern system. So I do think it goes back to that. You've got to be your own health advocate. You've got to learn a lot of stuff on your own and figure stuff out on your own, or for your kids, and it's not always going to be easy, but if you want to be healthy, you really have to kind of work pretty hard, right?
Yeah, you do. And another thing that I explain to people is, like you said, first of all, our healthcare is great for emergencies. They are the best at putting it back on and transplanting an organ, but they're not what you need to look to for preventative and for optimal health and wellness and things like that. And I try to explain to people, it's like if you had a tree and all of the leaves died and they're all brown, and you thought, well, I'm just going to fix it by spray painting them green. That's kind of similar to what we do a lot when we go to a doctor and we say, I have this, like, my eyes are itchy and my nose is red. Okay, take this pill and do this spray and put it in these drops. Well, they're just spraying the leaves green, but they're still dead. They're not working.
Yeah, it's not like now they're vibrant and growing again. They're just green.
I tell people we've got to find the root cause. That's what functional medicine is. That's what holistic health is you go all the way down to the roots and you fix the roots from the bottom up. And once the roots are healthier, then the tree is healthier, then the leaves will just be green by themselves. And you're not spray painting them. Just everything is healthier and more vibrant if you're kind of going from the bottom up and root cause instead of symptom management.
Oh, I love that analogy. That's so good. I'm going to have to talk about, like, start with the roots and then the tree and then the leaves and then even flowers and stuff you could add in there.
Flowers, yeah, that's even better. And then you really
or fruit.
Yeah.
Cool. I think, we've had a pretty good conversation. Do you want to kind of wrap it up? Maybe you can tell my audience your website and your information and where we can find you, and then I'll share my stuff too. But
yeah, okay, that sounds great. So my website is just my name, www.kristenblakewellness.com. And my Instagram is Kristen Blake Wellness, and my Facebook is Kristen Blake Wellness.
cool.
So pretty easy to find that way. And yeah, and tell us all of yours.
So I would say YouTube is a good way. You can search Sarah Hornsby. I've got a lot of videos that anyone can watch with a lot of this stuff. You can find me on Facebook at Sarah Hornsby RDH. You can find me on Instagram at Faceology_health. And I'll link all this stuff when I share the video. So I'll make sure I link your stuff too. And then on Instagram, I already said Instagram, but yeah, if you want to see my website, it's myfaceology.com. So you can find me in a lot of ways.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for doing this. I think it's really helpful, and I got to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, which is really cool. And we got to talk about Mouth Breathing Awareness Month. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it. This is fun.